Welcome to the Marriage Can Win show. We are your relationship experts. I'm Eric, and this is Dr. Sakisha Hollick of Marriage Can Win.
We are so excited that you're joining here. As you come on, make sure you let us know what city and state you're listening from, and make sure we are connected either on Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter. Make sure you follow us, and we will follow you back. All right.
So, also, we'd like to invite everybody to join in the show. Invite your family and friends.
Mhm,
Share us out. Start a watch party.
mhm.
And also, if you're not following us on Instagram, follow us and we'll follow you back.
Now, here at Marriage Can Win, we educate, we empower, and we encourage couples to embrace that marriage can win, especially when you focus on three. One is improving your communication skills. Number two is developing sound money management skills so you're not living paycheck to paycheck. And number three is enhancing your intimacy skills so your marriage can win.
Yes.
So tonight we are super excited. You know, we always like to bring you the best of the best here on our guests here at the Marriage Can Win live show. Tonight joining us is Michelle Faust. She is no strangers to turning lemons into lemonade, and she's done it countless times throughout her personal and her professional career. For over 20 years, Michelle has earned the status of being a consistent top sales performer, but she had to ride the waves of sales success, and she found herself at a point where she could no longer fit the image of the company, the youth, or the salaries of the inexperienced won out. It was time for her to take the juicier out and make some lemonade out of all of those bitter lemons. So we all know what it's like to go through challenges, be it in our marriage, be it in our business, be it in our finances, in our relationships. And Michelle is going to shed some additional light on how to turn lemons into lemonade. So everyone, help me, and join me in welcoming Michelle Faust to Marriage Can Win. How are you doing, Michelle?
I'm doing fantastic. How are you?
Oh, great. Well, we are super excited about having you here on the Marriage Can Win show. And the topic, going from lemons to lemonade, is something
Ah,
that's really, really exciting. Because if you think about the time that we are in right now, everyone out there that's watching could use some encouraging words on how to turn the lemons in their situation to lemonade. So, can you help us shed some light on how they can do that tonight?
Well, there's no easy answer, but I think the real key is mindset. That's the first thing that you really need to do is make a decision and a choice that you're going to look for the positive. You're going to look for um, the lemonade, the silver lining. It's almost never a case that's completely 100% dismal. In everything we can find some positive. So it starts with mindset and how you choose to think about it.
All right. So, can you share with our listeners a little bit about you, about your background, about your businesses, if you're married, any kids, all the juicy stuff?
Oh, my good stuff. Um, yes. So I am married. I'm on my second one.
Okay.
I learned a lot going through the first and then moving into the second one. And we've been married for 13 years, together.
oh, very good.
15, yeah. And and it's never easy, but it can get better and better all the time, can it? Yeah, it just does. You just got to work on it. But more about me is we don't have any children together, but we have a
Okay.
combined family. He has the boys, three of them. I have the girls, two of them,
Wow.
and they're all adults.
Mhm.
But your kids never really are 100% grown up. In a parent's mind.
That's so true.
That is
Yeah, it is. But I tell you, I never felt the empty nest syndrome. I'm just loving having time to do my business and working hard, and we have a great relationship with all the kids, so we stay in touch with them. But
mhm.
we just everybody's got their own lives.
Oh, that
Wow.
sounds good.
Well, that's
Well,
good. I'm looking forward to that phase.
yes, yes, yes. So, share with our listeners a little bit about your aha moment that help you realize your calling to help others?
It was more than an aha moment. I think it was an aha year. And
Okay. I like that. It was an aha year.
But the short version of it really is I was fired from my pharma job, and in pharmaceuticals it happens to everyone sooner or later. But after 20 years, and I was still at my peak, and I was still making all the awards, and at the top of the charts on sales. So it was pretty tough to take, and needless to say, it was rather devastating. So I couldn't get back into pharma. It was just I didn't have the stomach for it, so I had to reinvent myself. And so I think the aha moment occurred along the way because I tried different things. I got my Series 65 license. I thought, oh, financial advisor.
Okay.
Who was I fooling on that? Not my thing. But anyways, I was in content writing and marketing when I really made my shift and found what I wanted to do. And that was writing The Lemonade Stand, the book that I published in December. And it started because I felt like I had a really big story to share. Like I felt so fearless in what I was doing. Like I was jumping into the entrepreneurial world. I wasn't making any money after I'd been making 6 figures. I didn't know what the heck I was doing, but I just kept moving forward, and I was doing things I hated to do, like networking and all the there's always something in an entrepreneurial setting that you just don't like. I hate administrative work. I let my tax stuff go until the day before my tax appointment. Those are the things. And so, but I was doing it, and I was like, I can do this. And so I just felt empowered to tell my story because I have a severe hearing loss.
Okay.
Like profound. That is not fixable with hearing aids. Yet somehow I learned how to be a top performing pharmaceutical rep. I learned how later in my life, so to speak, to be an entrepreneur. And so it was really the idea behind, if I can do it with the disability I have, if I can overcome the self-doubt and the lack of confidence that I have and step into this space, then that's a story that should be shared, and that should be encouraging for other women to move forward, regardless of what their obstacles are. So I didn't feel confident that my story all by itself was something I could turn into a book. I didn't even know if anybody would care about my story. And there was the financial aspect of writing a book and having it properly published and all of that. So I turned it into a collaborative effort, and it was the best thing I could have done because I got 18 other women to join me and to invest into the project. And they're lifelong friends. The connection I have with them is just incredible, and they've taught me so much. And the experience overall was so amazing that I just turned over all my clients from my marketing job to a partner I was working with, and I said, I'm out of here. I'm going to build on the Lemonade legend. That's my calling. And so I just, took yet another leap into that and put all of my efforts into creating platforms for women to share their story and to be heard. And
I have a
I'm
question.
so lucky.
You talked about you went from the journey, you were working with pharmaceuticals, and then you found yourself in like marketing, financial services, financial advisors. Because what I want our listeners to understand, a lot of times when you go through phases in life, and you may not go from point A to your ultimate point. You may go from A to B over here to C and D, and
Yeah.
sometimes that causes them to be frustrated and want to give up. but your story is so powerful, meaning that you didn't give up. You did what you had to do until you found what you love to do, and then you were able to pursue it wholeheartedly. Because a lot of times when it comes to like the financial aspect, I think that's kind of what keeps some entrepreneurs on the edge, walking away from a six-figure salary into not guaranteed salary.
Yeah, it takes a whole different mindset to go away from a guaranteed, or not guaranteed check, but accustomed to getting a check.
Yeah.
And every 2 weeks or whenever you get paid, and then have the benefits of corporate America, versus now I always say you eat what you kill.
Well, yeah, exactly. And it's not only the money, it's the benefit.
Yeah.
It's knowing you have life insurance for your family. You can go get your teeth cleaned, and the company's paying for the dental insurance. And I mean, holy moly, that's a lot of stuff. But you just can't beat being your own boss. I mean, there's just something just so liberating about knowing you're not. You do have to answer to people. You have to answer to more than just yourself. But at the end of the day, you still can make the decisions and choices of how you want things to look.
Wow.
And
Yeah,
that's
it's a lot more freedom of choice in the decisions that you make.
I have a question. So, can you walk us through what it was like when you were going through that moment when you found out, okay, I'm no longer going to be working in corporate America? What kind of thoughts were going through your mind at that point?
Well, because my situation was that I was fired instead of having been, making that choice. So for me, it was a lot of anger. I wasn't ready to leave.
Okay.
I wasn't even thinking, because I was in a position that if I had worked maybe 2 to 3 more years, I could have just retired. So I had to completely rethink what I was doing. So even though 2 to 3 years doesn't sound like, well, why didn't you just retire then? And that's because I really hadn't quite reached my goals financially where I wanted to be to retire. And so just to go to nothing at that point didn't make sense. And there was also a part of me that I'm a little afraid of retirement. I'm a busy person, and I would be doing that. I would be finding something to be busy with. So now to be doing it with a purpose is incredible. So I was angry because it wasn't my choice, and I was angry because they had manipulated the situation so that they could get some, blonde hair, blue-eyed, 30-year-old. I'm sorry. That's just pharmaceuticals. It is. Anybody will tell you it is. So there was resentment and anger, but there was also fear. It's like, I hadn't even thought about this. What am I going to do? I hadn't nurtured any particular passion for what I wanted to do, and so I was lost. And that's how I got into taking the Series 65, studying for it, and getting it, because I had a very, very dear friend who was this, Michelle, you would do great at this, and he had his own financial firm, and so he talked me into it. And honestly, I did it only because it felt so good for somebody to believe in me and to love me, that I didn't even think about whether it was something I wanted to do. And then, so I passed the test, and it's a hard test, so I was proud of myself for doing that, but I had to be honest too. In the long run, I just said, who am I kidding? It takes 20 to 30 years to really build a book as a financial advisor. I didn't have 20 or 30. I mean, I may have 30 years more to live, but I don't want to be knocking on people's doors, at that point. So that was my reality check. But I will tell you, when you say things don't always just go to A to B or A to Z, I've zigzagged my way all my life. And when I think back, though, I have learned with everything I've done. I learned by going through the studying to get my Series 65, I've learned, no matter what it is I've done, I learned something, and I do believe that every step has brought me to where I am now.
Well, yeah, that's God ordained. Some things happen. What's the saying, baby, by Marilyn Monroe?
Oh, sometimes good things fall apart so better things can come together.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, a different variation of the same quote. I think that's absolutely true. Yeah.
Wow. So, can you share a little bit about what that healing process was like? Because I know when we go through phases in life that are unexpected, sometimes, like you said, we can experience a range of emotions. We can experience hurt. We can experience anger. We can experience resentment. But eventually, we go through the healing process. So, what was that healing process like for you?
So it's in two parts, I'll say. The first part was I spent so much time after being fired just being upset. I shed a lot of tears. I was in a dark place for a long time. And I remember it was morning, and I knew I wasn't feeling good, mentally, emotionally, I was not feeling good. So I sat down to pray before I even got out of bed. My husband was in his office, had already been up. And I just prayed and prayed and prayed. And it came to me at that point in time that I needed to forgive the senior management that had fired me. And at that point, literally tears were streaming down my face, and I ran into my husband. I'm just like crying. He thinks like, "Oh my gosh, what's wrong?" I'm like, "I forgive them," and he was like, "What?" And that was my first liberating moment. After getting fired, after going through the pain of that, and I started to feel better.
Okay.
And then the second point, I would say, in the healing process was when I decided to put my story out in my book, in the Lemonade Stand, because I had grown up with this hearing loss. And if anybody with a disability knows, especially a kind of a silent disability, because you can't visually look at me and know that, I have this. And kids are cruel. And growing up, with struggling the way I did, there were kids that perceived me as being, stupid or slow or ignoring them or whatever they thought. I'm not even sure what they thought, but I felt different and I felt a lack of confidence in myself. And so, without taking your entire show talking about it, I think most people would understand that. But I ended up having a tremendous amount of self-doubt and low self-esteem and no confidence whatsoever. Wow. So, and I hid it. So this is the crazy thing, is I tried to hide it, like can really hide that. I'm constantly asking people to repeat themselves. My speech is a little bit different because I didn't learn how. I couldn't hear the sound correctly being spoken. And, so it was kind of silly that I hid it, especially since, I think most people are good people. And, if they understand, they're good. So at the point that I decided I was going to share it, I became very open about my hearing loss. Okay. So now when I meet someone, that's like one of the early things that comes out, because I don't want somebody second guessing, whether I'm not listening or paying attention or I am slow or whatever it is. I don't want them to second guess. And because I want to build relationships based on honesty. Yeah. And that was so liberating as well, because I'm no longer hiding behind that. I just, if you don't want to build a relationship with me based on that, that's probably your problem, not mine.
Exactly. But everybody has some challenge, whether it's, overt or not. And whether they try to, hide it or not, but the thing is, it takes a person, it says something for a person that can overcome those challenges and move forward and be a testament and a display to others that, hey, even with some challenges, that life throw at you. Like you said, I love where you got that. You take lemons and you make them into lemonade. And everybody knows we love lemonade. And then see, for you to have a life that shows that, it's a testament to others, and people can get hope just from hearing your story and from seeing you and interacting with you. They're like, wow, she's going through something that's similar to what I have. And she's an inspiration. So that is awesome, Michelle.
And you know what it says to me? You said a key word there. You said, I was thinking my story doesn't matter. And I'm sure there are listeners out there that might be feeling the same way. My story doesn't matter. May I offer to you guys, your story does matter. Because just like you are experiencing challenges, there are other people out there that are experiencing the same thing. And just your tenacity, your drive, your diligence and determination to continue to go through that and press through that, and then to have this anthology and have a group of women come alongside you and share their stories. There's power when we work together as women, and it's going to speak volumes. Just imagine to that teenage girl or that young lady that's experiencing the same thing. Now she has to hear in your story, there's another level of hope that she has, and recognizes there's power in my story. So when I was here, the lemonade legend, I'm like, oh, this is going to be awesome. We got to make sure we share with our listeners. And when you think about it, is there a role or an impact that it has in terms of when you're married? Is there are you, what about the level of support from your spouse and from your children? How can you share with our listeners a little bit about that?
Sure, absolutely. So I don't have the proper word to say how supportive and how incredible my husband Dean is. I think that it can be a very difficult thing to have one person in the marriage trying to build a business. Even if it's one person is essentially the business person, if you're married, you got to both be in the game. You have to both embrace it, because I'll tell you, you're going to go through financial issues because of the business. And if your spouse isn't on board with that, that's going to lead to some real challenges. And I have to say that Dean has been not only just supportive of my time, but I racked up a lot of debt. I did. And the thing is that now that it's at a place where it's bringing in money, but almost any business is going to go through that trial of a lot of outgo and not a lot of income. And that's probably that's a risk you're taking in your marriage. And so you have to have the buy-in, and you have to have the honesty to share it and talk about it, or say, I just spent this much money on a program and it's stupid. It was a waste of my money, and you have to, because you can't share in the joys and the successes unless you're also sharing in, your failures and that. So I'm incredibly lucky. And also he is retired. So the first day I heard the laundry machine going without anybody asking or saying anything, I was like, yeah, I won't call him a house husband by any means, because he isn't that, but he just knows when I'm on overload.
Yeah.
He knows when, if I don't do it, it's not going to get done. And so that's where he fills in. It's kind of like, yeah, you're in that mode. I better put a little laundry in.
It's really great when you have the support of your spouse.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
Even when things don't look like they're moving forward or progressing, they still stick in there with you. And so, like you said, now when the times are tough, and things don't look like they're moving forward and being successful, you can really celebrate it when all of a sudden stuff start clicking and things are working, and the numbers start going up, and your bank account is no longer in the red.
Yeah, he's my biggest cheerleader now. It's funny because he's not incredibly social media savvy and all of that. But he's finally, now that he really understands what I'm doing, he's on there and he's sharing my post and, commenting on them and sending them out to people he knows. And yeah, he's great. And so that makes it feel all worthwhile when I'm not giving him the time I feel like I should give him. I know that he's sticking with me, and I know that as soon as I'm out of the aggressive growth stage and things get a little bit more settled, we will have that time. And I will definitely, but here's the one thing that I will say, because I had to learn it too. Be kind, be patient, because it's so easy to get wrapped up in your own head with all the stuff going on around you that it's easy to be short with a comment. It's easy to, just not be kind. You're just thinking about your own stuff and you get stressed out. So I've really had to teach myself to take a step back. And if I can't say something kind, I'm not going to say it, because he doesn't deserve that from me. He's putting up with a lot with me, and that's the very least I can do. It's just to be kind.
Oh, wow. Now, you're such a positive person. Can you share with our listeners how this turning lemons into lemonade is bringing so much positivity so much positivity to light? Because there are some people who would be frustrated because things are not the way they want it to be, and they could go the opposite way. Can you share with our listeners how you remain so positive and so upbeat? I mean, to me, it's truly a blessing. So I would love for our listeners to hear a little bit more.
I think I've always just been naturally, I've always been the glasses half full person, to a certain extent. I don't know the magic in it. I really don't. I think that positivity kind of feeds on itself. It's infectious and contagious, and so I think the more that I am positive, the more it just becomes a natural way for me to be. And I've experienced depression and low points as much as I've experienced happiness and positivity, and I would much rather stay in the positive space. I don't like being in the depression state. So it's a little bit of a choice as well. Because I know if I strive to try and look for the good in every situation, that I'm going to be emotionally in a better place. And that and my faith plays a huge part, because my faith gives me hope. And with hope, anything's possible. So you might as well smile.
Now, you said something really, really important, something really key earlier. You talked about your husband recognizing that you could be in a place of overwhelm. Can you share with us, because you've got the Lemonade Legend, you have a lot going on. How do you manage it all? I mean, how do you keep yourself from staying? Sometimes we can kind of step over into overwhelm, but how do you keep yourself from staying in overwhelm?
Yeah, so that's really hard for me, because I like to chase the shiny object. So I keep finding things like, oh, I want to do that. So I do have a coach. I believe in them 100% to find the right person to hire as your coach, because that's the person that holds you accountable, and that's the person that keeps you chasing after those shiny objects, that keeps you very focused. Now, it's not that my husband couldn't do that, but don't ever have your husband be your coach, because no, it's not a good idea. It's simply because I'm doing this because this is what I do well. It's not what my husband does well. Yeah. So he can be supportive, but he really can't help me know what to do in my business. Okay. So I have a coach, and I've been slowly delegating to a team that I'm building up. Which is a hard thing for me to do. So you have to trust yourself to do that, because the money goes out to hire the team before the team generates enough income. It's always going to be like that. You're always going to hit that point where you're growing and you're busy. Mm-hmm. It's like can I afford to hire the person to take that on? Or the question is, can I afford not to? Because
Yeah, I was thinking about
I'm
that.
not in business. So I'm kind of in that phase right now where I'm really delegating and bringing on more people to just assume a lot of the things that I was trying to do myself.
Wow. Okay, that makes sense. Just to for our listeners to make sure you recognize that sometimes it's time to just shift your mindset. A lot of times we look at the financial aspect and we wonder, can you afford to do it? But like you said, can you really afford not to? You find yourself faced with things like overwhelmed trying to do every single thing when you have people out there with the skills and talents. And if you can get that off your plate, you can really hone in on some things that you're really focused on. Like, I like things organized, every I dotted, every T crossed, but truth be told, I can't do it all.
Yeah.
And I had to learn to relinquish that and ask for help. And then we would always look at our budget and be like, can we do this? Can we do this? And now, it's like, can you really afford not to? Because if you're doing all of the other things, it's taking away from what you're supposed to do. So I encourage everyone to, like you said, building a team. That's an excellent idea. Getting virtual assistants. Ooh.
Yes.
Thank God for virtual assistants.
I know. Thank God for them, right? So, it's like I know a lot about marketing, but I don't have time to sit and manage all my social media posts and things like that. So, as much as I can do it, should I be doing it is the question. And no, I shouldn't be, because I need to put my zone of genius out there where it does the most impact on my business. So yeah, it's not easy though. I will tell anybody out there listening, it's not easy, to say, okay, I'm going to hire a virtual assistant. I'm going to commit my budget to, spending that much. But risk come with in any business, but risk are in life,
Yes.
you're not going to avoid them. So you just learn to manage them and learn to feel brave and trust yourself.
It takes some getting used to stepping outside of your comfort zone. I know we took a lot of leaps and bounds in our business, and it's really outside of our comfort zone. Sometimes, my wife is a little like hesitant, like, no, I don't know. She fights against it, but I still push and push and push. And finally, when things go, we get like the virtual assistant or something, then she's like, oh, this is pretty cool. Or, we try to bring in the experts for the publicity and the advertisement, and she's like, okay. And then she may tell me, actually, she really pushed me out of my comfort zone, because like going out to seminars and getting certification on coaching, and master story, got our master storytelling telling certification. And it was something that I was like, okay, what we need to do that for? We got this. And then, but when we did it, it was really impacting, not only impacting our skills and how to, speak more and still, tell stories effectively, but it brought out something in us that we didn't really recognize until we were in the environment where others were stepping outside their comfort zones and being transparent and just trying something new and finding out, wow, this really helped us. So we kind of balance each other out in that aspect.
You said something that was key, and I'd like to pose this question to Michelle, because you work with clients. So can you share with us or some of our listeners, like, what's one of the greatest obstacles that a lot of your clients have had in regards to sharing their story? Because I know for us, fear was one thing, cost was another. Can you share one of the greatest obstacles that your clients may have had to overcome?
Yeah, I would say without a doubt, it's that fear of judgment, because so many situations, rape, alcoholism, domestic violence. You know, it's crazy that in this day and age, it should still be something that feels shameful, but it is like nobody wants to put that out there that they have that in their life, in their past, and so they're afraid that people are going to be judgmental, and they are afraid, and they can't quite let go of the shame that they feel. So most of the time it's a matter of having a conversation with them, of assuring them that that's really not the case. I mean, I've seen it too many times. I've worked with too many women who have really, embraced the process, even though they may have gone into it feeling those things about shame and judgment. Here's the interesting thing about shame is that if you share your story and you put it out there, it no longer has any power over you.
Right.
It simply loses its power because, hey, you're not carrying it inside anymore.
Right.
So it can't hurt you in a sense. And as far as judgment, usually I'll just say, if a person thinks badly of you because of what you've gone through, do you really want them in your life?
That's true.
That
That's
is
true.
true. I like that.
Yeah.
I like that.
So the idea is, and also because, again, I've seen this repeat itself, is that so many people will all of a sudden come out and say, thank you. Thank you for sharing. I thought I was the only one. I didn't think anybody else felt the way I did. It was going through this. And then that's so empowering for the person who shared their story. They all of a sudden, they're inspiring, and they're teaching, and they're lifting their sisters up. And so if they lost a few people in the process, they probably gained 3 times more.
Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
true.
Absolutely.
More genuine people.
Yeah. That's true.
Versus someone who's just putting up a facade, and behind your back they're saying so and so and so and so, and their motives are to your detriment versus your benefit.
So, what piece of advice would you have to an entrepreneur that's desiring to share their story? What would you advise them to do, or what tip would you give them?
Well, tell them to call me. No, well, yes and no, but here's the thing I say is that when it comes to sharing your story, there's both a personal growth and a professional growth. And then there's also that side that it puts you in a place where you can inspire and teach. So I consider those sort of my 3 pillars, when I'm talking about storytelling. Some people are really only looking for that personal growth. Some people want just a professional or both. So in the situation of somebody being an entrepreneur or entering into that, first of all, you really can't be a successful business person if you're carrying around a lot of baggage. You do need, if you have not really addressed your past, if you haven't come to peace with it, forgiven yourself, the people around you, all of that, you're not going to be as successful as if you release that baggage. And sharing your story is a great way to do that. The other thing is that you can use your story for figuring out what is your why. Why am I doing what I do? What is my purpose for doing what I do? Usually is rooted in your story. So if you write it, if you share it, if you use pieces of it in your marketing, you're creating this really powerful why. And that's what sets successful businesses apart from competitors that are not so successful, because people don't buy your what. They don't buy your shiny object. They buy because of your why. Why do you sell that shiny object? What is the purpose behind selling the shiny object? That's why they buy. They buy from an emotional place, and that emotional place connects with your why. So write your story, figure out where you're at in that journey in terms of, fully embracing it, being healed and good and feeling powerful from it, or are you still struggling a little bit? Whatever. If you need more help, do it. But write down your story, figure out how it has shaped your attitude, your mindset, how it has helped you develop your skill sets and your talents, your gifts, and put that out there and make it your why. I guarantee you'll be successful.
Wow, you started talking about like their skill sets and their gifts and their talents. So, what's like a tool that you feel that women in business should not be without today?
Confidence.
Oh, I like that.
That's true.
I would say 100%. You know, we need a lot of different skills, but if you don't have confidence, it's going to be really hard for you to be a leader, uh, and for you to be able to have the perseverance to stay with it. Because I'll tell you, not having confidence sucks up a lot of energy.
It does.
Do you have any tips on building confidence?
Um, Well, yes. I'm doing a virtual summit all about confidence and women's
Oh,
empowerment. So, um, yeah, I would say, well, we're addressing everything really because confidence comes from your mindset,
Mhm.
your inner self, your faith, your fitness. Um, we have like 10 subjects. How you dress and put your makeup on. So it starts from the inside and builds out to the outside to how you appear. But the inside has to come first. And so it really, every aspect of your life, you know, you got to feel good. You know, you got to take care of your emotional stuff. You got to know who you are and your purpose. All those things are the foundation for confidence. And when you have confidence, you can do just about anything. And in fact, I read an interesting study once that showed that the reason men are hired more frequently for a position and promoted and paid more is because of confidence. Because they are perceived, not that they do have, but they are perceived as having more confidence in general than women.
Wow.
So that's really, I think, the key to leveling that field with male. No offense, Eric, but we got we got to even the score here.
Yeah, we do. So we talked a little bit about the lemonade stand series. Can you share a little bit more with our listeners about the series? You talked about having I believe you said you had 18 different women step up to share their story, but can you tell us a little bit more about it?
Sure. So it is meant to be a series. So I am working on the second book now. And in fact, if there's anybody out there that's got a burning story to tell, I still have room for about 6 more authors to jump into it. So it'll be modeled very closely to what the Lemonade Stand #1 was. And it's just an incredible experience that is all the things I've been talking about. It's for self-healing and self-growth. It's for personal growth. The promotional opportunities, the exposure is all there. And it's fun and you bond with people. You make wonderful connection. So that's really one part of the platform that I've built. Then I've got the Lemonade Legend digital magazine. So that comes out every other month. And that's a way to come in on a little bit smaller scale. So maybe you write an article that kind of introduces a little bit about your story. Maybe it introduces your why in your business. So it's a little bit more business oriented than the Lemonade Stand is. That's a little more on the personal side. And then I've got a podcast. So that's a real easy way for people to just kind of jump out and, just verbally share their stories. And come the fall, we're going to have we don't know the name of it, but we're going to have a TV show too. So,
oh, awesome.
so really what I'm trying to do, and I do publishing services because I found I had so many people saying, well, I think I have a whole book inside of me, not just a chapter. I've got a whole book.
Oh,
So,
wow.
yeah, so I'm helping a couple of authors right now bring their books to life, and I love it. It's like being a midwife
Yeah.
I'm helping them, along the pregnancy leading up to the birth, and I'm going to help them birth that baby. Yeah, so I don't know ultimately where it all will all go. I'm just trying to build the biggest platform that I conceivably myself can build, so that people can be heard, women can be heard, they can share their stories and have a voice.
Wow, awesome.
That's awesome. You got the book, you got the magazine, you got the podcast, you got the publishing, you're going to be doing the TV show. So
Wow.
you make sure when you get the names and everything, you send it to us so we can blast it out to all of our followers so they
Yes,
can make
Absolutely.
sure.
It's all in the works. Yeah.
yes, definitely.
Wow.
Yeah.
How can our listeners, find out more about you or get, connected to you? Is there a website that you have, maybe?
I do. It's www.thelemonadelegend.com. It is a little bit under renovation right now. It was a full website, but then I realized it wasn't doing everything I needed it to. So it might look a little funky, but go there anyways. You'll get a good idea of some of the things that I do. You'll be able to contact me, reach out to me. And then my email is simple. It's just michelle@lemonadelegend.com.
I like that.
Okay.
Michelle at lemonadelegend.com. You definitely won't forget that email.
I know that is very impactful. I mean, I love that. Yeah. That's,
I thought it was kind of cheesy in the beginning, the whole
Really?
no.
No, people love it. People love it. So I just,
Yeah.
I do.
it's
I
like the cheesier the better. I wear yellow all the time, and I have this little necklace, about, when life gives you lemons, and I got pictures on my wall, lemon pictures, and yeah, I just go all out.
But they do say we are representatives of our brand. So whenever they
Exactly.
meet you, they talk to you, they'll be able to know know about your brand. So that's a good thing.
Yeah,
That's a good thing.
it is. I think it is. But I'm
It
having
is.
the time of my life.
That's great because they'll definitely remember you.
Yeah, definitely.
I guess that's the key, right?
Yeah.
Yes, that's the key.
So is there one thing that you would suggest that women can do to just continue to help, I'd say, change the face of this country? Because I know you talked about us wearing our confidence, and that
Right.
impacts sometimes whether we get a job versus a male counterpart. Is there any other suggestion that you would have for women so they can continue to change that the face of the country? Because we have a lot to offer.
Yeah. Well, the country has a lot of fixing to do too. So
Yeah.
we
That is
gotta
so true.
and I think it's going to be the women that do it. Yes, I think it starts with ourselves first. I think it starts with embracing our story, with being able to love ourselves, because in doing that, we fill our well, we fill ourselves so that we can give to the community. So we ourselves have to build ourselves up to be very, very powerful, resilient, and capable of dealing with the negative stuff out there, with putting yourself out there to try to support and help someone. So I think that's a really important start. There's a lot of other components. I mean, you want to be kind, you want to be accepting, you want to all those different things.
Yeah.
But before you can do that, you got to accept you and love yourself.
That's true. That's key. Just to accept and love yourself. I like that. I've got so many notes that I'm taking from you. So forgive me when I'm looking down. I'm taking some notes.
Well, I'm glad that what I'm saying is worthy of putting pen to paper. That makes me so good.
You've been amazing, amazing. We've had such a wonderful time interviewing
yes.
you. So for all of
So
our
good.
listeners out there, if you're watching the replay, don't forget to put hashtag replay in there. And we want to make sure that you go out, you connect with Michelle, go visit her website. She's going to have a summit coming up on confidence. So let us know the dates and the times, or if it's going to be posted on your website. We'll keep watching for that. She's got a book, she's got a magazine, she's got a podcast, later on TV show. So you definitely want to stay connected, women. So if you've been struggling with the lemons that you have in your life, come and stay connected with her. So she's going to help you turn those lemons into lemonade. So before we close, if you could take like just 1 or 2 minutes and just share with all of our listeners how married couples can win by sharing their stories. That'd be greatly appreciated.
Yes, absolutely. I do believe that even in marriage, we hold back. And it wasn't until I embarked on this that I believe that my husband, who has always loved me to death, but I don't think he knew what he loved until I put myself out there. I shared my story. I started this business. In pharmaceuticals, that was all a facade. you know? And so even though he knew my values, my character, things like that, he didn't know deep down inside. He didn't know the impact of my hearing loss, all of those kind of things, or who I really was. And so I think that in a marriage, you really have to explore that on both sides. What's your story? Tell me about growing up. Tell me about how that impacted you. Because then we become even more connected with the other person. And that's the first key. And also wrapped up in all of that is communication.
Yes.
Which is the most important thing. You see the couple that's sitting at the restaurant table and nobody's talking.
Yeah, we talk about that all the time.
Because they don't have anything. There's nothing to talk about. But if you're constantly looking to understand your spouse, constantly looking to say, what are you thinking today? What emotion might be impacting you today? Or why did you just kind of smile and snigger at something that you just saw on the TV? Tell me what prompted that. Ask questions and find out. I don't think it's possible to ever 100% find out about, the other person. There's always going to be a little something in there. So it leaves room to try and pull it out, to try to get closer, to have more communication, to always keep the dialogue going. Because I tell you, if you end up being the couple that sits at the table in silence, you might be headed for trouble.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely. Gonna have to open up your mouth and ask questions of each other. If you don't know that much about, you don't have anything to talk about, this is the time.
Go ahead and be silly if you can't think of anything serious, Just keep the dialogue going.
Yes.
Marriage is like constant on the job training, always learning, always growing, always evolving. So I think it's important for couples. I know we get comfortable with one another, and we should be comfortable, but should always be learning, because I'm not the same person. We've been together 26 years. I'm not the same person now that I was 26 years ago, or even 5 or 10 years ago. I'm constantly growing and evolving. So we need to, there's more to learn about me, and there's more for me to learn about him. And we just keep having those conversations.
Yes.
You want to keep your marriage fresh. You want to keep learning about your spouse, but you can't do that if you're not interacting with them. Because we don't want to be that couple looking at each other. I don't foresee us as the couple looking at each other across the table, not talking, because there's very rarely any silence in our home, except for when we're sleeping.
Yeah, and I think that's a really, really good point, that none of us are the same person we were 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago. We grow, and we should be growing. And if we're not keeping up with our spouse's growth, if we're not invested enough to know how they've changed, we don't want to be stuck in the beginning of our marriage. That's kind of crazy. I don't want to be like I was when we first got married.
Tell me about it. I don't think he wants me to be like I was when we first got married.
No. We've evolved over being together going on 26 years, going on 22 years of marriage. Oh yeah. And that's a good point. But I tell you, this has been a great show today, and we really enjoyed having you on. Now, everybody out there, make sure you go to the lemonadelegend.com and check out all the ththings that she has going on, because she has so much going on. I was like, balance. Wow.
Yeah, you guys better connect up with me before my brain explodes, because I do. From day to day, I don't know when that's going to happen.
Yes.
But it's a blessing just to this serves as a form of encouragement for anyone out there that's watching. Your entrepreneurs, if you have someone that, like you said, life has given you lemons, you can actually turn it into lemonade. You can turn your life around, go into it, take a different course, and just do something different. You're able to say, okay, no, you're not doing the pharmaceuticals anymore, but look at what you are doing now. And it's simply amazing. We had to go through those bumps in the road sometimes to get to ultimately where we want to be. So it's a blessing. And I just thank you so much for sharing it with our listeners. It has truly, truly been a blessing.
I've had great fun. Great fun. I really appreciate you having me on because, I can talk about this stuff all day long.
Oh, well, we'll have you back on
Yeah,
again.
we will, definitely.
Yes.
I'll be back when I had the TV show or something.
Oh, okay. That'd be great.
So you guys heard it. When she gets her TV show, she is coming back on the Marriage Can Win show. So.
Yes.
Absolutely. But thank you. I really do appreciate you letting me share my passion and my purpose of what I'm trying to do out there.
Oh, no, it's been
thank
great.
you for sharing it with us and with the listeners. So we want to tell everyone, remember that you can be the change that you want to see in your relationship. We love you. We're praying for you guys. We thank you so much for your support. And we will see you guys next time. And don't forget to join us tonight at 9:00 on the Love Radio Network.
Yes, that's in exactly 58 minutes from now. Go to the loveradionetwork.com. It's now going 24 hours. Also, we're having two shows now. We have the Marriage Can Win show tonight every Tuesday night at 9:00 p.m. But we also have a show on Fridays from 8 to 9, right before Midnight Love. Yeah. And so then we're going to be talking about this. It's the dating show. So we got marriage, and we cover also the singles for dating as well. So, and before we go, make sure you take advantage of our free gift that we're offering. Take out your cell phone, type WIN to 407-258-1246. And if you look at the bottom and scrolling down, it gives you that information right there. All right. But until next time,
we'll see you then.
All right. Bye.